Hey, we're back. I believe this is episode 13. Episode 13, Keep Five Alive. I'm Jason DeBeers, and the podcast for Sports Debate Tuesday starts right now. Hey, welcome. This is episode 13. Jason DeBeers along with my boy Rob. Keep it McLean. We're living this Cali life. This coronavirus keeping us quarantined, but Rob and I remain the quarantine. So let's get to it, Rob. We'll start with the NFL, all right? Recently, there have been some big contracts handed out to quarterbacks. We saw Tannehill get his money. We saw this Brady get his money. We saw this guy get his money. We saw that guy get his money. So now we're not going to talk about the quarterback. We're going to talk about the running backs, all right? The most underappreciated position. They're like, if you want this contract, you got to run and show me. And then when you run and show me, it's like, oh, no, we ain't give you no contract because you wore yourself out. So Zeke got his money, held out. Remember, Emmitt Smith, some of the best running backs got their money. So money notwithstanding, Rob, who are your top 5 running backs today?
Top 5 running backs. All right, well, it's pretty easy for me on the top of the list, but I'll start at the bottom where I got to mention.
We're going 5-1, Rob.
Yeah, who I got to mention the 2 guys who I didn't put in first, Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram.
Honorable mention.
They're right, honorable mention. They're right there, and I just love them both as runners. My number 5 is Ezekiel Elliott. I don't like him that much because he's on the Cowboys. He is what he is, but he's a fantastic runner. You can't deny talent, and, you got to show respect. So he is my number 5. Always gets positive yards. Just perfect kind of running back. My number 4 is Dalvin Cook. He was injured this season a bunch, but man, every time a guy touches the ball, it's just like it's a first down. Honestly, like he makes people miss. First down, beautiful. Like one of my favorite runners to watch. My number 3 is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry dominating people on the field. The only knock on him is it's not consistent enough. He needs to be consistent, and then a team can literally build around him. But it's the same thing about the draft. If he was more consistent, he would have been the number 1, honestly, probably top 5 in the draft. So
yeah,
tough to see, but he's a great player. Number 2,
Bama.
My man Saquon Barkley. He is, I think he's the best pure running back in the league. But there's many other facets to the game now, which is why number 1. Christian McCaffrey, who got paid rightfully so. But, man, getting the ball in Christian McCaffrey's hands is one of the craziest things to see because that guy makes people miss in all different ways. And not even for crazy yards because he's not like a burner. But, man, everybody misses him, and he's one of the smaller guys on the field. So it's pretty interesting to see. But, yeah, that's my 1 through 5. What you got, Jay?
All right, here's my number 5. My number 5, different order, but a lot of our same top 5s, and I'm going to surprise you with 1 or 2 of them. Saquon Barkley, all right? This man is for real. Rob, in this league, it's hard enough getting 4.6 yards a carry, all right? Especially when you have a quarterback that you can stack 8 in the box and everybody knows you're coming, and you still getting those yards. That is a boss, all right? This man rushed for 1,000+ yards, 9 scores, and he missed 3 games. So that's my number 5. Number 4. Ready? Surprise? Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers. The lasso from El Paso. Played like a boss with 1,000 yards rushing. Plus, again, just like Saquon, 4 yards per carry. 16 rushing touchdowns. 19 total. Four of them in the playoffs in the 2 games. And he played so well. One might make the assertion that Aaron Rodgers isn't the best Aaron on this team. I'm taking a stab at y'all. Number 3, Ezekiel Elliott. Big Zeke out of Ohio State. 4 years in the league. The man, The question is he more trouble than he's worth? Oh, is he more trouble than he's worth? Yes. Yes, he's more trouble than he's worth. So what? 1,357 yards, 12 touchdowns. He has 5,400 in his career, and he rushed for 983 yards in the season that he only played 10 games. Make mine Zeke. Zeke is not as high on my list because when you need him the most, they're either behind or he's not coming up with important yards at important times of the game. So he dropped 2 spots on that. Could have easily been my number 1. Goes to number 2, Christian McCaffrey. This man is born again. Born again Christian. All right, the guy can catch. The guy can run. He makes people miss. He can bowl through some people, and I really love this guy, man. He cuts. Bridgewater's going to be a happy man. There's nothing more to say on that. Which leads me to my number 1, Derrick Henry. 1,540 yards rushing for the season. It's bowling people over. And who would think a guy that big, if he breaks one, he scores? The man runs like Bo Jackson, and he cuts a little bit like McCaffrey. Not on that level. And very, very close 2-1. But I got to give my number 1 to for best running backs today. It's McCaffrey. Derrick Henry. Yeah. I like your 1. I ain't mad at your 1 though. Come on. I'm just saying you built a whole program around McCaffrey. I like your 1.
Yeah, I mean, and Saquon, I would put him higher, but he just does. He hasn't shown it yet. If you look at the stats, he's shown it, but he hasn't put it to use. I would say he got hurt in the wrong time of the season. I think he was really kind of utilizing what he could do. And Derrick, man, like I said, he would be my number 1 easy if everybody played their best at all times, but that's just not the case. For some reason, he just doesn't get those. And it's weird about running backs. Like, you have to get those 1, 2, 3 yard gains instead of getting negative 2 or 3 yard gains, and then you'll get the big plays. And that's what he does. Like, he can do that easily with his size, but he just kind of wants to be that flashy running back at 250 pounds. It's ridiculous. Like, just be a bulldozer and then be able to show what you can do after. But yeah, he's definitely on the list. And yeah. Aaron Jones, man, I like Aaron Jones. I really like what I saw this season. That guy's not going away.
No, he ain't. Aaron Jones is a problem, my man. Yeah, all right, nice. Here we go. This whole episode is dedicated to nothing but top 5, okay? We might do one next week, but we're not going to bludgeon you to death next week with it. But this week, just put on your seatbelt. If you got a problem with top 5, this might not be an episode. Just skip it, all right? Check out Deron Forbes tomorrow on the Option Podcast. He's going to be my guest at high noon. All right, bring your attention to the NBA. All right, what's going on right now? This Michael Jordan documentary, Rob, touted by many, if not most, as the GOAT, the greatest player of all time. Certainly my pick for greatest of all time. Just the body of work plus the moment of truth shots. He's missed some, but he's made some. So and some of these moments are awesome. So instead of rolling down our top 5 moments, we're just gonna go 5 apiece, and I'm gonna go back and forth. All right, I'm gonna give you mine first. All right, my top favorite, not of all time, but consensus. My top favorite moment of all time, number 5. I call it, is he big enough? Michael Jordan's playing the Utah Jazz. He's posted up against John Stockton, does a spin move, and dunks on Stockton. And then a fan gets so upset, he almost goes on the court and says, "Hey, why don't you pick on someone your own size?" So the next play, Turpin's under the rim, and Jordan dunks on him. And Turpin's like 6'10", and then he runs by the fan and he shrugs and he says, "Is he big enough?" That's my number 5. What's yours?
My number 5 is. Actually, same team, Utah Jazz, the game winner that he hits for his last championship. I think that pretty much, I know it maybe be higher on other people's list, but for me, it's more, I like it because of the sentimental value. Like, it was one of the first times I think I've seen somebody talk about Michael Jordan, and it was just a great shot. Some people talk about push off and whatnot, but I think it was just the essence of where the league is now, where offense beats defense.
Yeah.
he was one of the greatest. So it was great to see.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Hey, the push-up was conspicuous but not egregious. It would have to be something where it would have to look like a Russell Westbrook stiff arm. I've seen Westbrook stiff arm some people.
And he has. Yeah.
He did a Marshawn Lynch one time. All right, number 4. I bring your attention to 1986. Turn the clock back, way back, Rob McLean. Michael Jordan scores 63 points against the Celtics. He had the flu in that game. He was sick as a dog. Now, very, very few times do you remember great performances in the losing effort, because you tell a story and then someone asks, oh, did he win? And you say, no, nobody wants to hear it. So there are so few instances people remember performances in the losing effort. You can remember them. And that's what I'm remembering. That's what I'm naming right now. 2 overtime losses to Bird, Parrish, and McHale and the Celtics. Playoff game 2.
Hey, man, you took mine, man.
All right, we share. What else do you want to add to that?
Yeah, because, and that's the craziest thing is that they all applauded him in the loss. And it's hard because, you see in, when you watch something like that and you see, there's a lot of admiration for that. And it's just kind of crazy because all we always talk about is the wins and the losses and this and that, but there's a lot of camaraderie and respect in sports, and that's what leads people to live better lives after that. So, it's just very interesting to see, and another thing Jordan teaches you.
No doubt. All right, my number 3, free throw, eyes closed. He's at the free throw line, and Mutombo's sassing him. Mutombo's like, why don't you shoot one with your eyes closed? And he goes like, huh? And then he looks at Mutombo, and he says, this one's for you. Dribble, dribble, dribble. Swish. That's my number 3.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. He was one of my favorites. I think my number 3 would probably be, I guess it's more of a process thing, but just how he, was never really the guy, and he always persevered. He always, we could talk about moments, we can talk about the high school thing where he never made, and then he came back, which again was disputed. And then, where he wasn't really the number 1 player in the country for North Carolina, but then he started playing and, it was all different after that. And then even in the draft, he wasn't the number 1 pick. He wasn't that guy even until 3rd, 4th, 5th year in the league. A lot of people don't remember that. And then he just exploded. Kind of, again, same thing like Kobe Bryant. But yeah, I think just that whole idea of him, or what he's shown of just like perseverance, that's definitely one of my favorite Jordan moments.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Which brings me to my number 2, the game winner against Georgetown. When the fate of the NCAA championship, the best team in the country, is being decided with these savages. You have James Worthy. You have Patrick Ewing playing for Georgetown. Sleepy Floyd playing for Georgetown. You have Brad Dougherty. The fate of the game, 1 point, was decided by some kid named Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Took the game winner, secured the national championship as UNC beat Georgetown in 1982. That's my number 2.
Number 2. All right. For my number 2, I have, again, a process, but I heard him talk about how his whole idea was that he was going to dunk on every big guy in the league. And I don't want to remember which year it was exactly, but
I know where you're going.
all part of the process. And, I remember so many iconic dunks from that particular run of trying to dunk on big guys. And then the, Hakeem Olajuwon, dunking on Hakeem.
Ewing got posterized. Ewing got posterized in 1981.
Mutombo, Ewing, yep. It was all of them, and that's what I mean, again, just about like a whole idea of thinking that he wants to do it. It's not that he made it happen, but when the opportunity came, he took it. He could have been blocked. He could have been, fouled. He could have been, but he wasn't. It was a flush play, and whatever it was the mentality or the ferocity or what he did to him during the game. They didn't block it, and he flushed it, and, those are the moments.
Yeah, no doubt. And my number 1, you already mentioned this. It's at the bottom of your 5. It's at the top of mine. The last shot against the Jazz. What people don't remember is what happened before that. John Stockton, did this jump sideways 3-pointer, put the Jazz up by 3. Put them up by 3. And then in the ensuing series, Jordan scored. And then on that series, he stole the ball from Karl Malone, and at the end, he scored. So just a great way for him to finish the game. Not just a scoring junkie, but a scoring junkie when you need him to score. Came up with the last 4 points, including the game winner. Not just, but a defensive player, right? Came up with a steal on the best 1-2 punch in the league at the back then, Karl Malone and John Stockton. That's my number 1, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 1 is the time where one of his rookie teammates asked him said that he could beat Michael Jordan in a one-on-one. And he went to dismantle not only that guy, but anybody else in the gym that asked to meet him on that challenge. And
Man,
again,
never mess with someone like that. Never mess with someone like that's always looking for reasons to motivate himself.
Yep.
You know? Like I remember Jeff Van Gundy said that he's this nice guy in the beginning of the game and he's sweet until he kills you, and Jordan used that. Jordan got offended by that. Put up 55 against the Knicks and then called him a little shit when he walked by at the end. I'm like, really? It's Jeff Van Gundy. Relax.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so check it out. Our next top 5. I bring your attention to mixed martial arts. A decade and a half ago, UFC president Dana White said that there will never be women fighting in the UFC. It's just not going to happen. Now, not only has his view changed, a decade and a half later, some of the women are headlining, and one of his 2 most popular fighters who transcended the sport, Ronda Rousey, meaning people that don't watch the sport know her, was a woman. So, tribute to the female fighters who are not our favorite, but who are the top 5 female fighters of all time.
You want to go first or you want me to get it?
Rob, I thought you'd never ask. I'll go first, all right? Number 5, Germaine Durandamine. The Iron Lady who fights at 135 and 145, took the belt, the interim belt from Holly Holm, fought a slew of great fighters, fought Amanda Nunes, which I thought was her best performance as far as showing her all-around skill set, because everyone just saw a striker. But I like that performance over her starching Aspen Latin 16 seconds. So Germaine Durandamine, say that 5 times really quick, is my number 5. My number 4, Chris Cyborg. Chris Cyborg is the single scariest fighter to face. And when you find out you're facing her, people call the promoter and they call Dana White and they're like, Dana, what did that girl ever do to you? You're giving her Cyborg in the men's or women's division. All right, this is the one woman we honestly believe as elite male athletes can fight men. All right, we heard about Ronda and this and that, and I'm like, come on, man, stop, just stop. And the reason why she dropped so low on my list is she got busted. And she apologized, and she's the most tested athlete, and so I assume she's clean now, but she loses points on that. Number 3. Go ahead. Sorry, you can interrupt.
I was gonna say she got starched by someone else on this list.
Yes,
that girl got to be somewhere on that.
Yes, come on. That's why Cyborg's 4, not number 1. Number 3, Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey. People who are prisoners of the moment only remember her last 2 losses. I refuse to do that. I remember her first 11, where she was beating people under 30 seconds, including submitting Kat Zingano in 14 seconds. That is ridiculous for anyone that knows who Kat Zingano was. Her last 4 fights before her loss to Holly Holm were all undefeated fighters. Kat Zingano was 9-0. Sarah McMahon was 8-0. Betch Correia from Brazil was 10-0. All her last 4 fighters, at least to my memory, were undefeated. And not only did she roll through them, she submitted them, and she face planted Betch Correia in Brazil, who was cheering for her, by the way. So, got to give it up to the new movie star and former new WWE star and former fighter Ronda Rousey. Number 2, you're gonna like this one. Shevchenko, Valentina Shevchenko. Why don't people know who you are? Because you don't who she is because you don't watch mixed martial arts. Anyone that watches mixed martial arts from the grade of casual all the way up to the diehards know this woman's 19-3 record is savage. Her level of competition is amazing. Her only 2 losses, or those 3, were to, well, one was to Liz Carmouche, which she avenged. She won. And then she lost twice to Amanda Nunes, won by split decision, which many thought she won. I didn't think she won, but that close. So Valentina Shevchenko, the Peruvian and the Russian, and the kind of half river dancer, gets my vote for number 2, which leads me to number 1. All right, 1 through 4, you can argue ad nauseum, but number 1 is not even an argument. Amanda, the Lioness Nunes, secured her GOAT status in just 4 years. In that time span, she choked out Miesha Tate to get the belt. She starched Ronda Rousey in under a minute, probably retired her. This woman's retired more people than Social Security, all right? Beats Valentina Shevchenko twice, like we just mentioned. Starched Chris Cyborg in the first round. Who does that? Nobody starches Chris Cyborg. Knocked out Holly Holm. Holly Holm has some losses, but has never been knocked out in her career, and it many times seemed impossible to knock out. The Lioness rules the world. Amanda Nunes.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Top 5, Rob.
I don't have much difference. I had my number 5 being Chris Cyborg. I mean, I definitely agree with that. You know, the women. The all-time women's list is maybe a little bit shorter because we're going to the very top, but we have Chris Cyborg as number 5.
Huge separation between the 5 and the rest.
Yeah, I mean she's got to be in there. It's sad that it took this long because I feel like maybe 10 years ago she'd be at the maybe number 2 or 3 of the list, or fighting Nunes at a different time. So it'd be crazy.
Yep.
But my number 4 is Weili Zhang. That girl who just fought, she and I mean, there's not much else you can do to prove that you're not supposed to beat. Honestly, thinking about it, I probably maybe move Chris Cyborg up to 4, but Weili. I'd love to see what she does in her next fight, and she's definitely up there. Rousey's my number 3. I definitely agree with that. People do definitely forget because of the last 2 fights or the way that she looked in the last 2 fights, but people also got to remember that she did that, 8-second, take people out, arm bars everywhere, and then never did that after, in the last 2 fights. So it just shows you how terrible the coaching was, and it wasn't really about her as an athlete. Number 2, Valentina Shevchenko. You gotta, I still think that she and Nunes got to run it back a couple times. And that should be trilogies because they're right around the same age, and they're both good. End of the careers, they both tapped out all the divisions, and we should get a couple more super fights. So I'm hoping for that coming soon. And then obviously the number 1 is Amanda Nunes. She just, I think if anybody on this list could fight a dude, I would love to see her fight. What's his name? The guy who's trying to fight all these females.
Cejudo.
Henry Cejudo. Now that I will campaign for.
Yeah.
Amanda Nunes and Henry Cejudo.
Henry will wrestle to the ground. But if I tell you what though, if he sticks his chin out, I'm telling you, Amanda could fucking hurt him. I just cursed.
Let's see.
Yep. Oh man. So I like that our number 1 is not as cut and dry. Hey, next top 5 list. This is we'll go to beach volleyball. It's a lot of what our contemporaries have been waiting for. For those of you that were waiting for the Facebook Live, sorry. This is this is our Facebook Live. We're live right now, as we mentioned before, Rob. I get a whoops there. So the last 20 years, the rest of the world has caught up in many ways and passed the U.S. in talented players at the top level. With the U.S. not ready to concede the crown from the sand as far as top players, and with a slew of talented players on their way up, Rob, who are your top 5 female beach volleyball players in the U.S. of A. right now?
Yeah, right now. Okay, so my number 5 is Emily Stockman, and that's of course right now. But when she plays her best game, she's really long, really big defender. She runs down a lot of plays, and she's with a great coach, and they make her do the right things. Nice don't know who. I really like her ability to be a hybrid defender. Like she's one of my. She's definitely up there. My number 4 is Sarah Hughes. Again, I'm not really too in favor of the partnership she might be in right now, but
With Wilkerson or?
that Hughes is in.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, I just think that she needs a type of player that's probably not out there right now, and that's why she's in it. That can just dominate and force the game maybe to her, and then she can allow the game to blossom. But that's why she's a little bit lower on my list than maybe other people might put her on. My number 3 is Carrie Walsh. She's still out there, still dominating, still being big. You can't really take that away. You can't teach size. And she's finally on the correct side of the court so that she doesn't have to blow out her shoulder to be able to play the game. So that is just huge for her. You see a lot more options, a lot more smart plays. My number 2, I think some people would be surprised, but is Kelly Clays. I think her combination of jump serve, be able to move how she does, confidence and mentality, and then she's got a golden shoulder. You can't really take that away. So yeah, she's good blocking. She's with a partner that she wants to play with right now, and I think that it's great for her. Maybe again, I think she's in the same boat as Sarah Hughes, where she might be able to move up this list a little bit if she gets the right partner to propel her forward. And then my number 1, obviously, would be April Ross. I think it's hard to deny that she's far and beyond. Whether she plays defense or blocks, she's the best player on the court, mainly because of her serving, her ability to side out, her ability to get a point when she gets a dig. And she's done a great job, making herself a better defender. So, more praise to her, and hopefully we'll all be able to get to the Olympics this next year and prove who really is the best.
Wow. Hey, listen, there are some people that are going to be in the top 5, but I am amazed how your list and my list, how significantly different they are. And I think it's because if you do 5 to 15, or let's just say 5 to 9, there would be 4 girls on our list on the outside looking in. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll off some people who are probably on your list on the outside looking in, but on my list they're in. Starting with number 5, Kelly Clays. Got to give it up to her, man. The former woman of Troy. And everyone talks about Sarah Hughes. She was the most talked about player, who's the next Misty Man, this and that. And I'm like, hey, what about Kelly? What about Kelly? And there she is, out there balling. Won an AVP title with Sarah Hughes, doing really, really well with Sarah Sponsel. Played predominantly internationally. Only played five AVP tournaments. Finished in as far as the top the AVP, she finished top 3 or 4 in the 5 AVP tournaments she played in. So she finished 3rd or within that top 5. So got to give it up to her. Got to give her the rub. Kelly Clays. Whoever her agent is, call me. Number 4, Betsy Flint. She is a savage. She will take your lunch money. And a few years ago, she was always good to put these games in, where they were decided by 2 but weren't winning those games. And now she's winning those games. She's winning those games with authority. She's winning those games with killer instincts. All of her shots are sure. There's not a moment of hesitancy. Won a couple of AVP titles. Her first one, Cincinnati, with Kelly Larson. Won a couple with Emily Day. And clearly... she has 96 aces from the AVP, and the person who's second is April Ross, who has 54. That's second. So her serve to space. And we both know when you have aces, that don't even tell the story. We're not even talking about like shanks or out-of-system balls people have to bring back, which automatically have teams on their heels. So this woman speaks one language, killer. My kind of language. Number 3, scrolling down to Alex Kleiman, the former NCAA finalist at Stanford University, leader in hitting percentage in the AVP, 79 blocks in only 26 matches played. So not bad. She would be higher in this list if she, the one thing that I can say about her is, and sadly, and people are going to think I'm casting aspersions on her, but it's our show and I got to say it. Silver medalist. Second best, runner-up. There have been so many instances where it's her turn to reach up and grab that brass ring, and it slipped through her fingers. And I think some of these games she is getting through those, but she has to show me she can consistently do it, because we both know championships are not decided by blowouts, Rob McLean. They're decided by 2-point victories. Which leads me to number 2. You're going to sulk because she's your number 1, April Ross. Another woman of Troy, all right? Second in the AVP in aces, all right? Now, she's significantly behind Betsy Flint, but she only played 26 matches. 54 aces in 26 matches. That woman's jump serve is boss. If you're not in that lane, or if you're not facing your platform or angling your platform or literally in front of it, you're going to get ace. It's going to go backwards. It's going to go up somewhere. Worst case scenario, and just like Betsy Flint, 54 aces don't even tell the whole story as far as stuff that doesn't show up on paper. Shanks, stuff you have to bring back. Definitely my number 2. 141 AVP titles. She still seems so young, right? How the hell someone looks so young when 41 AVP titles and 25 international titles? Damn. Which brings me to number 1. Call me a prisoner of the moment, but I did talk to some people about this, so now I'm more sure than ever. It is Carrie Walsh, all right? The 4-time Olympian. 5 times if you include indoor. People forget that she played on the indoor team for the women's national team in the 1996 Olympics, or the 2000 Olympics. She maintains her transcendence as far as star power, as far as keeping her promises off the court. There are people that don't play the sport that know who she is, and that's more than I could say about a lot of those people who are full of themselves. All right. I am a prisoner of the moment, and I said it again, but has she slowed down? Maybe. Show me where. Has she lost some of her jump? Question of fact. She never really jumped high in the first place. She just had good reach and timing. Even if all of those things are correct, even if people prove me wrong and say she slowed down and did this, even if they're right, has she slowed down to a point where somebody else is playing better than her? And my answer is absolutely not. My pick at this age, and I don't even care about age, I care about what you do on the court. This woman was winning with Brooke Sweat. All right? And that sounds like I'm casting aspersions on Brooke Sweat, but this is our Keep It Real show, and I got to keep it real. If she had Betsy Flint, if she had Sarah Sponsel, she would do just as good as she done with Brooke Sweat or anybody else. And that's the other point I'm trying to make. She's not, at her age, you figure her partner would be carrying her. No, she's carrying all of her partners, which included April Ross for most of the Olympics until people found out that right side. She don't like that right side too much. So my number 1 pick, not undisputed, of course, with some controversy, is the woman that's not actually playing in the AVP right now, Carrie Walsh.
True.
Cool, man. All right, we got another list. This one's going to be fun, and I think it's our last list. Because if we do a list, I think people are going to fall asleep. All right, so listen. In many instances, sports films have been more fun to watch than actual sports events. So, Rob, maybe I'll go first on this one. What are your top 5 favorite sports films of all time? I'm going to go first. Glad you asked. Thanks, Rob. So check it out. Number 5. Don't laugh too much. I'm sentimental. Side Out. Side Out is a movie about beach volleyball with Peter Horton and C. Thomas Howell. Randy Stokely plays Rolo Vincent, though some people say he didn't have to play the absolute D-hole known as Rolo Vincent. Is it a B movie? You better believe it, okay? Is it a movie that had great direction and acting? Hell no, it didn't. But is it one of my top 5 favorite movies? Yes. All right. 6, 12, 15, 30, 12, 24. What's all that bullcrap, coach? Give me half. Side Out. My number 4 movie. Not exactly a blue chip movie, but by name, Blue Chips. Love that movie. That's Nick Nolte. That's Shaquille O'Neal. It's Ed O'Neal as a reporter. Penny Hardaway. The late, great J.T. Walsh was an alumni, giving players money under the table, all right? And I love how the alumni was the bad guy in this movie. And now when you're looking at pay for play and how people think these kids deserve this money, he was a bad guy when this movie came out, and this is in the 90s. I think he's an anti-hero if that movie came out today. Everyone's going to be like, wait a minute, this guy's right. B movie, Blue Chip on my list, number 4. Number 3, Major League. Speaking of these B movies and these 2-star movies, I bring you Charlie Sheen. Had to get my cookie on, all right? Rick, the Wild Thing Vaughn. Wild Thing. Dun, 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 dun. Willie Mays Hayes, Wesley Snipes, Tom Berenger played a catcher with 2 shot knees. Renee Russo, the girlfriend who could have been his wife again. Just an amazing movie. And let's not forget Pedro Serrano. Straight ball I hit very well, but Jesus cannot help me with the curve. Yo, don't be taking Joe Boo's rum or that's your ass, okay? Which leads me to my number 2, Jerry Maguire, okay? Jerry Maguire found a way for a sports movie and a chick flick to not be mutually exclusive things, but to be binary. This was a chick flick, all right? But this movie was about sports. This movie was about football. It was about sports agents. It was about a player who was crabby about not getting his. And you know what, Rob? It had me at hello. Rob, this show, Jerry Maguire, completes me. Which leads me to my number 1. Da, da, da. I'm about to... It's any given Sunday. Al Pacino and oh my God, Jamie Foxx as Willie Beeman. Now I finally had to get a movie that was actually an A-list, or it was actually not a B movie. That is an A movie that is arguably one of the best sports movies ever. Really talks about the ins and outs, talks about psychological manipulation by coaches, talks about the power of the front office and how collectively how Super Bowls and championships are won, not by a couple of individual people, though the players do it. And the 53-man roster, it's definitely a front office thing. And I really loved Al Pacino, and I really loved how you felt his plight. You took that journey with him about a quarterback who was uncontrollable, and you felt the quarterback's plight, right? I mean, he's fine. He finally gets his shot, and he's supposed to do it other people's way, so he could sit back on the bench and people not see his best work. Go kick rocks, but any given Sunday, Bobby McGee, let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well, my first one, my number 5 is a little bit of a mixture because not a lot of people like baseball, but I really love like A League of Their Own, but also
Tom Hanks.
like A League of Their Own, but also The Natural and gosh, there's one more, but yeah, just baseball. Baseball is my 5th. But yeah, I really A League of Their Own, Tom Hanks, classic movie. About when men go to war, and they created a female basketball league. It was a female baseball league, and it was just a great movie. So definitely up there, my number 5. My number 4 is actually Miracle. I thought, again, like you were saying, sports. It's interesting how sports are being a little bit better than the actual situation that happened. So a very great movie. I really love that movie, and it really opened my eyes to how incredible that whole feat was. My number 3 is Rocky. I think that's such a classic movie.
I'm so lazy, dude. I'm so lazy, dude.
It was hard to choose 5, and even rank them like that too. But I mean, Rocky 1, and Rocky 4 are my favorites. I'm sorry, Rocky 1 and Rocky 3. Rocky 1 and Rocky Russian, that's
that's 4.
Favorites. Yeah.
I really like 2, because she didn't want him to fight, and he was like, I never asked you to stop being a lady, so please don't ask me to stop being a man.
Please.
Yeah. It's all I know. It's all I know.
Yeah, I mean, Rocky, again, it's just such a classic, but number 1 was such a classic.
You got number 2. Okay, go ahead.
My number 2 is Moneyball. I actually watched this recently, and I thought it was, I thought it was going to be an okay movie. It was one of my all-time favorite movies, obviously, but man, seriously, one of the best movies I've ever watched about the GM aspect of the game and the upper echelon of the game. Where most people think about the players and the actions that happen on the field. So awesome to see, and baseball also crazy movie. And my last one, my favorite sports movie of all time, but I think, again, one of the best classic high school football movies. One of my favorite actors, Denzel Washington. Remember the Titans? I mean,
I'm so lazy, Rob.
That's why I was like, man, remember the Titans? Great soundtrack, great movie, great. One of the first, I think, sports movies to really put like the production to like another level, where they gave you the story in the beginning. They brought you in at the end, and then they give you the whole story and lead up to the ending again. It was one of the first times I feel like a sports movie really put the aspect of the movie itself into production, instead of just to be about the sports and just be about the people and their feelings, but to convey that to the fans. So yeah, I think it was awesome to see. Remember the Titans, best movie of all time.
If when I was going through this list and I was going through football movies, I'm like, dude, I can't believe I couldn't remember the Titans on that one. I mean, Varsity Blues is a fun movie to watch. Friday Night Lights, Billy Bob Thornton, all of these are good football movies. Even Wildcats with Goldie Hawn, a very young Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson back in the day. You're right, man. I mean, think about like all of the best movies, man. These sports movies are just. But I mean, I got my Kookie on in my top 5, and look what you did.
Well, is there any of the any ones you want to like add on, like honorable mentions?
Has to be Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans has to be in the middle of my pack. I mean, I just didn't remember the Titans.
You got a top 6 now. Yeah, for me, I had to add on like an honorable mention. I just had it in my head. It's funny. I was thinking about Foxcatcher, but yeah, I forget it now. But yeah.
Well, I would love to say the wrestler if you're into sports entertainment,
Coach Carter, man. I wasn't gonna put it on there, but man, it's like right there for me.
Rich Wood, Richmond, a Rich Wood. Yo, oh my God, man. For the people listening, I would love for all of you listening, please submit your top 5 for any of these categories, and we're more than willing to listen, man. We're totally down with that. All right, Rob, good idea, bad idea. Having a virtual draft online.
Great idea. Great idea. I think they have to do anything they can do to keep it going, and I think a lot of people, if they had things to do at this time like drafts, I think this is exactly what they should do. I think a lot of teams should force people to communicate like this, and it's how it should be. So great idea.
I think it's a great idea. Honestly, they should have a virtual draft before the live draft. I mean, it's nice to have a whole bunch of people packed in or whatever. But when you think about it, you think about the top 10. How many of those people are taking the call from home anyway? There's some people who show up to New York, and there's some people that wait at home. I mean, in light of the fact you have so many rounds of this draft, and not everyone can be there, virtual draft doesn't really affect anything except just people taking a picture with the jersey. Oh, he's taking a picture of the jersey. Oh, big deal. You don't need the picture to remember that they're going to play for that team, all right? They're the number 1 pick, number 2 pick, number 3 pick, number 4 pick, number 5 pick. Don't need the picture. We're going to remember, okay? And we're going to even remember even more when these guys actually get on the court, or should I say the field, and play their position and what they're supposed to do. So, good idea. Did you hear that? I'll honk the horn, baby.
Bang, bang.
All right, Rob, good idea, bad idea. LeBron James playing another 5 years. I'm going to take this one first.
Right.
I think it's a good idea, and I'll tell you why. Even though basketball is very, very taxing on the body, and especially in his position when you're banging under the rim and you're rebounding and you're getting these elbows and you're getting knocked down, flops notwithstanding, of course, there's no athlete that takes better care of himself with the advancement of science and his commitment to physical conditioning as LeBron James. He's still a freight train running over people, and people, just like Kerry Walsh said, he lost a step, but show me where. I don't really see it yet, if not significantly. So good idea.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, and I'd have to say that LeBron is just one of those guys who I think it's whenever he decides, and he said he wants to try to play until his kids maybe get into the league. So if that's his plan, he maybe does a little bit more recovery in the next couple of years instead of trying to win a championship, or just kind of keeps it going. But yeah, I think with load management, good idea.
Yeah, loving it. All right, cool. Hey, Rob, good idea, bad idea. Betting on the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East. Go.
Good idea. I mean, they're definitely, barring the draft, I don't know what the Jets or the Dolphins are really going to be able to put up as a fight. And the Patriots are always a little tough. So, um, yeah, I definitely love the Bills, man.
Yeah, or I'm going to co-sign with that. I thought honestly, if they split, if people forget with 2 games left in the season, or 2 to 3 games left in the season, they had a shot at getting the division title. They had 2 opportunities to beat the Patriots. If they beat the Patriots, and with the Patriots losing that last game of the season, not only would the Patriots lost their first round bye, not only would they have lost, got knocked down to the 3rd seed, they would have lost a division. So Buffalo was already close with Tom Brady playing for the Patriots. They're going to be even closer now. They got Diggs, wide receiver, finally a deep threat. Spread the field out a little bit so to give Allen some room to run. Defense is still stout. Really love Coach McDermott, and that's not enough said about him. So I'm co-signing with you. Good idea. Okay, Bobby. Good idea, bad idea. Phil Dalhausser should retire at the end of 2020. I'll go first on this one. I think I'm going to go with good idea. I think he's been thinking about, I'm not a mind reader, but just by his language and just by some of the conversations he's had with the media, I did some media for Volleyball 1-on-1, and I was talking to him and Nick at Manhattan Beach about it, and he seemed lukewarm, and he always seems lukewarm to everything, so he doesn't really give away stuff. So when he's not excited about something, people think he doesn't want to play anymore, and sometimes that's not true, but in this case, I think it is. Good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say it's a bad idea just because I'd love to see him go after the Olympics. But after that, yeah, I'd absolutely say if it was after 2021, I would say it's a good idea. I think he's at the end of his game, and he just wants to continue a different life. Good for him.
Yeah, they moved ahead of Trevor and Try on the top 2 list too. So, if you're in the top 15, that gives you a shot. We can go over Olympic qualifications later, but before Try and Trevor were ahead of him now they're ahead of Try and Trevor again because Try got hurt, I guess, right? Last good idea, bad idea question, Rob. Rob, good idea, bad idea. Anderson Silva should bring your attention to the UFC. Excuse me. Anderson Silva should retire at the end of 2020.
Yes, good idea. I think he needs to just kind of do something outside of directly fighting, but give back to the game. There's so much opportunity outside of physically doing what you have to do to provide for your family. You can just, branch out. So good idea to retire.
I would say good idea, and only a good idea in terms of his legacy. Like there are some people that if they stay in the game too long and they lose a bunch of matches and don't perform well enough at the end, that's the way people are going to remember them. So people are thinking he's tarnishing his legacy. We as me as a former elite athlete and you as an elite athlete, we'll never put ourselves in position to tell someone who's healthy and still fighting when he should retire. If he's loving the sport and he wants to still fight, I get that, but it comes with a price. That's all I'm trying to say. Not everybody, in the cold world of sports, not everybody goes out on top, So few people go out on top. Those are stories that people talk about, So it's one of those things where I'm just happy that he has a chance to go out on his shield,
Yeah.
Excuse me. He has a chance to. I'm gonna change the effects. Change memory back to 1, and then we're back on our split screen. Boom. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our good idea, bad idea, and thus concludes our segment of this very, very exciting and fun top 5 filled episode of Sports Debate Tuesday, episode 13. For all of you at home listening, thank you very much. And I speak for Rob, Keeper McLean, myself, when I say your thanks is appreciated. Last week, 18,000 views. The week before, 25,000 views on my NY Varsity Sports handle on Facebook. So all you have to do is click like. You actually don't have to join it. Just click like and you can see it. In fact, you don't even have to click like. Just click on it. So my NY Varsity Sports handle on YouTube and Facebook. All of the episodes are available on there, but it seems to really be taking off on Facebook, particularly in the international scene, English-speaking countries like Australia, UK, stuff like that. Of course, our friends from the East, and And the Option podcast, I had a DJ Stoon, who's like a well-renowned DJ, and he's got this ridiculous, immense following. You would love him, Rob. You'd love to meet him.
For sure.
Anything else? I had rants and raves, but we're gonna skip that because I'd like to end it on a good mood. All right, thank you very much for joining us. For Rob and myself, we say so long. We're out of here. Peace. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.